Okay, so let's finish up. This will be the last video of the course. You've made it. All right, so now we're just going to render this out real quick and go over the rendering process and give you a crash course on this. Now, rendering has a lot of depth in every software. ZBrush is no exception. So since this is a beginner's course and this course focuses on what ZBrush is mainly known for, digital sculpting, we won't be covering every single itty-bitty nook and cranny of the absolute smallest pebble left unturned in renderings, but we'll still be able to walk away with something decent by the end, and pretty good in my opinion. So first things first, before we begin, if you want, you can go ahead and turn on perspective, which is over here, and that's going to kind of give you sort of a slanted look to kind of give you a little bit easier time if you want to do any compositing. But first thing I'd like to do in this is talk to you about maybe manipulating the background of the document and changing the resolution in case you want a specific image size. So let's do that first. Now to do that, it's pretty easy. The document is where we change all our resolution and where we go over things like color. So if you see this color right here, it says document background. Well, you can actually change that to anything. You can change it to white and you can give yourself a nice new color scheme right there. If you're interested in something like, for example, changing the resolution, like say 2048 by 2048, well, we got to turn this pro constraint off because it will adjust accordingly. And we can just sort of click at 2048, tab 2048, and we can just hit resize, and you'll hit yes. You'll see it stretch, but don't freak out, because remember the very first thing we taught in the first timer section? Command N, and just redraw it back in, like so. Now, 2048 by 2048 is a resolution of a square, but this doesn't look like a square. So if you want to see the full spectrum of this, you would go ahead and just kind of see where it says zoom over here. Just go ahead and zoom back out like so. And if you're having a problem with that ramp, you have no problems whatsoever because you can just easily go back to a gradient color of dark if you wish, just to go over and give you an easier time to see something. So let's go ahead and zoom out so we can see everything a little bit easier. So now that we have this all taken care of, we have a good idea of the ramp. One of the basic and easiest things to do in rendering is just start off with the BPR render, which is pretty easy. And by default, you already get a very nice image. But we kind of want to do a little bit more than that. We want to manipulate the lighting, for example. So how do we do that? Well, first things first, let's go to where it says lights up here, and let's dock that over. Now, right now as it stands, there's currently one light active with this little brush. And if we move it around, we can kind of see all sorts of different fun looking light schemes, and you can kind of get an idea of how something works. You can also do the same thing over here. Maybe you want to put something like this. You can now see his face a little bit easier in that one. So another thing you can do is create a rim light, where if you just kind of click in the back of that corner of empty space, you can create sort of like a rim light. And that's kind of neat if you want to do something like a nice little cool rim light that kind of goes over the side there. But of course, that rim light's not going to really be enough. In here, you can also change the intensity, look at the light property, etc. But what I'm thinking I'll do is I will go ahead and bring this guy in like so. Just kind of start off with a rim light, and from there, once I have that rim light, let's bring in a second light. So all we do is just click on a new light bulb and double click and bring it in like so. And this guy is going to kind of be little bit of an aid. And right off the bat, we can now do a little bit of filling the volume. Now, if we could, let's go ahead and try to bring that up a little bit more just to see what that looks like. And you can kind of see already how this fills out. Well, I'm thinking now I'd like to, and this is kind of the trial and error concept that we're doing now. We're trying to go through and enjoy having to do quick little iterations of the character, so see what it looks like from one area to the next. You know, it's going to be a little bit tedious, it feels like, but you know, it's pretty easy to manipulate the whole rim light process. I think I want to take this guy off and make my whoops, there we go. Make this here. This is usually my primary light, my dominant light. I'll bring him to about here, and then I'll go ahead and take my rim light and put it here. And this is all it is. It's sort of just kind of going through and experimenting with different little color scheme strategies to see what you can like. It's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting to go about doing. But if you have one light that's clashing in against another, one thing you might want to try doing is turning off the shadow of one light. That way you can kind of keep the second one, the ambient occlusion, or the second light, from going through. I kind of like just working though with one light and just seeing what I can get from it. Let's bring him through. Oops, no shadow, I forgot. So it's just kind of trial and error sort of thing. This is already something I kind of like. I don't mind too much. So now I'd like to kind of take you through. Again, rendering is not something I too terribly much matter to, but if one thing I do want to kind of go over is the anti-aliasing, and that's just sort of a thing that we're going to find as an issue with grass. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. You can kind of see already. Let's turn the super samples up. Oh, I forgot. We need to also turn up the detail. And that helps us to see it a little bit easier. So there's a whole bunch of fun things we can try doing, but one thing that I do kind of want to take your eyes onto is the render passes. These render passes are mainly used for things like compositing in Photoshop. If you click on them, you can kind of export them out, and it's something you can then bring into Photoshop. So bear that all in mind. Another thing you can do on here is try to experiment with different shaders. Like, for example, see what this looks like with a fast shader. You know, if you like that, feel free to go about enjoying just all the different pieces that you can do. You can also do the plastic basic material too, you know, and you can kind of get a little bit more specularity out of all of this. So feel free to experiment and draw out, because it's very, very important to kind of go about trying to find that right look. Another thing you can try is filters. Filters are a little bit of an interesting beast. Like, for example, they can kind of help with certain things like blur, if we, when it comes to grass, and we can actually have a little bit of fun with that. I think I'm going to go with Fast Shader as my choice, by the way. Or maybe I'll just go with the basic material. Has a little bit more ambient occlusion I can work with on this. So it's kind of something you have to take a little bit of time doing. There's a lot of forms of rendering, a lot of different softwares that have rendering. If we want to be honest, it's sort of you pay for what you get what you pay for. So like, for example, you know, Maya is an expensive beast, but it has Arnold on it, and it's probably one of the better renderers out there amongst them, even more so than iRay. But then again, there's another one called Marmoset Toolbag, which has been mainly known for rendering and such. So, you know, that too is like a possibility that you can bring yourself to enjoy. I personally like to use, if I had a choice, I would probably go with the Marmoset the Maya Arnold, but that's not something that everyone has, so you can still go with this. One of the biggest issues about rendering with this is there's not really a very good, they have a very wonky animation turntable that is very difficult and unintuitive to animate motion in here. So it's a little bit tricky, but then again, this whole thing that we're looking at, it's mainly for a concept of trying to work with and enjoy sculpting. This whole software, this entire ZBrush software, it's mainly known for digital sculpting. And, you know, these things that you're looking at right now, they're more like extra side features that kind of accumulatedly got implemented over the years. So that's kind of why we're focusing mainly on the sculpting part and not the rendering. But I can tell you from my experience that this is Maya rendering. It's still used every now and then, but over the years, it's really being more common that people will use something like Marmoset Toolbag or even Blender's rendering, which I would probably put higher because it's easier to do, and using Arnold for Maya. So keep that in mind. So one final thought in all of this is that I would love to have a takeaway of is first of all, when you are done with your render and you want to export it out, go ahead and hit the Export Image button under Document, and you can go ahead and hit Save. You'll get a little bit of a pop-up here, and he'll zoom in a little bit, but don't worry, because he'll come out the correct frame based on what you see. And anyways, what I was going to say is if you are a beginner and you watched all the way through this course, I congratulate you and I pat you on your back. But at the same time, I can't stress to you how important it is to explore, explore, explore. Even using the thing, not necessarily explore features, but explore combinations of the features you've learned. That's probably the most important thing. Like, you've learned Booleans, and you've learned how to use Booleans, but what does Booleans look like if you wanted to make a full mouth cavity through a sphere? or what if you wanted to use this eyeball as a sort of way to create a Boolean to create, for example, a mouth sphere or anything like that. Just build off of what you've learned through masking and through polygroups, through all the different things that we've gone over. And please just keep on sculpting, keep on doing just random fun sculpts, and please, by all means, show them to me. Feel free to email me or message me on my platform, and I will definitely get back to you. I always get back to everybody. So with that said, thank you for watching this, and hope to see you down the road in some of my more advanced classes. So stick around and stay tuned for that next course. Bye.